video, I will be making gumbo yaya from the Commander's Palace New Orleans cookbook. This was a request from the comments of my shrimp, okra, and andouille sausage gumbo video, which was a roux-less gumbo thickened with raw okra. In contrast, gumbo yaya is a chicken and andouille sausage-based gumbo created by Prudhomme that uses a dark roux, and I'm going to show you how to make that. For those unfamiliar with Commander's Palace, it is one of the iconic restaurants in New Orleans, along with Brennan's and Antoine's, that are all worth checking out, along with so many more great places to eat. And this cookbook is actually a solid addition to your library with a large selection of recipes, both elaborate and easy to make at home, that are emblematic of New Orleans. So let's go ahead and get started with this one and hop into the kitchen. To get started with this gumbo, we've got 5 pounds of bone-in chicken. I'm using chicken quarters here, but you can use chicken breasts, you can use a whole chicken that you cut up, whatever you want to do, just make sure it has the bones and the skin for this. So we're going to begin by just putting some salt to season this. And then we're going to also put a little bit of garlic powder, and this is just to taste. This is not any specific amount, whatever, as much garlic taste. It will end up in the stew, but as much or as little as you want. And then this is some cayenne pepper. And it's okay if you're a little imprecise with this, because now we're just going to sort of massage this and rub this in to get it all over the chicken, evenly distributed. I have let the chicken sit for about 30 minutes. And now we're going to get a big paper bag and we're going to put about 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour in that bag. And then we're going to put our chicken pieces in the bag as well. And now we're going to shake and bake, right? And once we have sufficiently gotten these chicken pieces coated, we're just going to put them on this plate here and reserve them for later. And there are the chicken pieces. Make sure you save this bag of flour too, because we're going to use this again to make the roux later in the recipe. In a large skillet, I've now heated a full cup of canola oil. I've got it on very high heat on my stove. You don't want to go all the way to the top because things will burn, but very high is about what you want to do, because we don't want to cook this chicken all the way through at this point. We just want to brown the skin on the outside. So working in batches here, I'm now going to put this chicken in. And we're just going to brown it on both sides, and then we're going to remove it to a separate clean plate. You can see the beautifully browned chicken over here to the side. That and any drippings that come out of it will go back into the gumbo later. For now, though, this is sort of the critical juncture of a successful gumbo if you're making it with roux. This is the leftover bits, and you want to make sure you get all of those wonderful, flavorful bits in the oil. I've turned the temperature of the oil down to medium instead of medium-high, because you can burn your flour here. So you want to be very purposeful in all of your movements and really focus on this. So we're going to take a cup of the leftover flour and immediately start stirring that from our bag, and start stirring that because we do not want any of this to burn. So I'm going to show you kind of the stages here, because there's different kinds of roux, and they all just have to do with how long you cook it for. At the moment, we're clearly heading towards a blonde roux. This recipe calls for a dark brown roux. So we're going to go ahead and just continue to slowly cook this, always constantly moving and scraping the bottom of the pan as the color changes, and I'll show you when we get there. At this stage, we're starting to approach what I would consider to be a blonde roux, but you want to continue going on past this point. This is going to get very dark before we're done with it. Now we're starting to approach what I would call a medium roux, or just a regular brown roux. But again, we are going to continue past this point. And also, you have to remember, as you cook your roux, when you put it in with the rest of the ingredients, it will, the concentration of that roux will disperse, and so it will be lighter once we add it in with everything else. And this is a dark roux, and this is where I'm going to stop because it will burn if I continue much longer. So now we're going to go ahead and remove this from heat and get our final pot that we're going to cook our gumbo started. I'm using my Dutch oven here as the final pot that we're going to cook the gumbo in. Now, before applying any additional heat to this roux, we're going to go ahead and put in 2 cups of onions, 2 cups of diced green bell pepper, and a 1.5 cups of chopped celery. And just get all that nice and mixed up together. This is looking good. And now we're going to turn the heat up to medium-high to try to get this to a boil. And we're going to add 6 cups of chicken stock. As this is heating up to a boil, you want to continue to just gently stir it. I do want to show you the roux is going to kind of stick together at this stage. That's completely normal. As this heats up, it will dissolve into the rest of the broth. I got this bubbling and boiling, and so now I'm going to turn the heat down to where this will just simmer once I put the lid on. So go ahead and give it one more quick stir here, and now we're going to add our final ingredients. So this is a pound of andouille sausage I got from Jacob's in La Place in Louisiana, west of New Orleans. Definitely my favorite, so if you happen to be in the area, I think they sell online, but this is real authentic Louisiana andouille sausage as opposed to some of the less authentic things I see in grocery stores. So go ahead and dice that up and add that in. And then we've got about 1.5 teaspoons of diced fresh garlic. We're going to go ahead and put it in as well. And then the last thing we're going to do is just return our chicken pieces to the pot. And this is going to fill up quite nicely here. And we're just going to let this simmer now. I'm going to cover this up and let this simmer for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Now, one last, I know so many cautionary things when it comes to gumbo here, but one last thing I want to caution you with, it's going to taste like crap. This stuff tastes like crap. There's some chemistry voodoo magic that happens at about the 4-hour mark that makes gumbo suddenly go from tasting terrible to tasting absolutely amazing and one of the best things I've ever eaten in my life. So there's no huge point in tasting your broth at this stage. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and cover this and cook this for I'm going to go for 2 hours on a low simmer. And then we're probably going to debone the chicken and finish up. I'm at about the 2-hour mark now, and I'm actually going to turn the heat off at this point. And we're going to take the chicken out. Look at how smooth, by the way, that broth is. We're going to take the chicken out and let it cool down, and then we're going to debone it and return the chicken to the pot. And like I said, this is better, one of those dishes that's actually even better the second day. So I'm going to, at this point, stop cooking it once I return the chicken, and then reheat it again tomorrow before we actually serve. We are ready to plate and eat our gumbo. Look at how rich and thick and silky this gumbo is with all that delicious meat in there. So we're gonna go ahead and just get some big chunky spoonfuls of this, and we're gonna put it around the popcorn rice that I made. And if you're unfamiliar, it's just it's called converted rice, also called parboiled rice, and it's cooked with butter as well as salt as you cook it, and so it ends up with the taste of popcorn. So go ahead and just make that to go along with your gumbo, or really any Cajun recipe. It kind of fits with just about anything, but it is a distinct way of making rice from the area. I cleaned up the bowl just a little bit, and now the final flourish is to just put a little fresh parsley along the top of this to give it that little green flourish. And there we go. You'll have gumbo yaya. This is one of my favorite things to make. I might make more gumbo recipes because there's a lot of different varieties. It takes a lot of time. It has a lot of ingredients, but if you try it, I guarantee you're going to want to make it again in the future. If you've never had it before, absolutely try out Cajun cuisine. I've got a large library of Cajun books, and Creole as well. Paul Prudhomme's Louisiana Kitchen, as well as this Commander's Palace New Orleans cookbook are both go-tos if you want to learn how to make this kind of stuff yourself. So if you enjoy my videos, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you at the next one.